and welcome back to my channel. I want to carry on talking about empathy on this rather gloomy, rainy day. I'm making cinnamon buns, by the way, today. I'm just doing their first proof. I'm using this baking kit here, which I got from Hobbycraft, for iced cinnamon buns baking kit. I got this actually a while back, and I thought, it's quite nice, a sort of day to make them. They're quite Hugo, aren't they? And it makes it more Hugo when it's raining outside. It's funny because my dad and my brother actually went on holiday to Copenhagen in Denmark, and they went on a brief holiday, and they're coming back today. And it's rather funny that I'm making kind of Danish pastry type buns today. I would love to go to Copenhagen myself, but most of you won't allow it at the moment. Maybe one day. I'd love to go there because it's like the capital of Hugo, isn't it, Copenhagen? But yeah, so I'm making cinnamon buns anyway. It's so it's all measured out for you, which is good. I like these baking kits. I don't always use baking kits. Most of the time I don't, but they're quite nice now and again. I do actually quite like using baking kits when I can, as a treat. And Hobbycraft do quite a few of them. Might get some more actually at some point because they're quite fun. I wanted to talk about, to carry on talking about empathy from where I left off. And I've been thinking about it a little bit further actually, and the more I think about it, it becomes a bit clearer. So empathy obviously isn't one thing, it's split into different components. Cognitive empathy, also known as cold empathy, because it doesn't require emotion, is the part of empathy that involves perspective taking. So literally inhabiting someone else's shoes, but in a very kind of, you don't need to feel anything, you just need to inhabit the other person's shoes, to know what the other person knows, to know how the other person is seeing things, to know, in a sense, to kind of inhabit their kind of orientation, literally their perspective, what they can see, what they know, what they don't know, and things like that. That's a kind of very cold kind of empathy. People use that empathy when they want to lie, basically, because lying is all about knowing what the other person knows and kind of, sort of knowing that what you know they don't know and that sort of thing. That requires cognitive empathy, and autistics struggle with that to greater or lesser extent, which is why we tend not to be very good at lying. Obviously autistics can lie. It's a myth that autistics can't lie at all. It depends obviously on the degree or theory of mind deficit. I think we can lie in a kind of very simple sense, but like for example, who spilled the milk on the floor? And I guess like you sort of learn through cause and effect, but if you say no I didn't, you won't get told off. That's the sort of very basic level. Obviously you do need some degree of theory of mind to be able to say no I didn't, because you need enough theory of mind to know that the other person doesn't know things from your perspective, and you need to, because if you didn't have any theory of mind, you would probably say, when they say who spilled the milk, you would kind of own up to it, because you wouldn't know that the other person wouldn't have that information, sort of thing. But that would be quite an extreme lack of theory of mind. And like I said, I think some autistics, it depends on the type. Basically, it depends on the extent of the theory of mind deficit. I think usually what happens in autism, hang on, I'm just going to be back in a sec. I'll just turn this off actually, because that's been on. I think autistics are often late to come on board with the whole theory of mind thing, but that's not to say we completely lack it either. It's just that developmentally speaking, we can be a bit later to develop theory of mind. Like I said, I don't lack theory of mind completely. I have it in a very crude, basic sense. I mean, I remember when I was in year 2 at primary school, so I would have been sort of 6 years old, and I don't know why I did this. Basically it's because a lot of the time I just couldn't be asked to do the work and I was bored, and I was often just walking around the classroom kind of Yeah, and I don't know what occurred to me, but something got into my head that I wanted to take a magnifying glass and throw it into one of the toilets. I don't know why. I don't know why. I don't know what's going through my head at the time. I don't even know necessarily if anything was going through my head at the time, other than that would be sort of like a funny thing to do. So I took this magnifying glass and I kind of hid it behind my back, although obviously I wasn't hiding it very effectively. Anyone, I guess if I had more advanced theory of mind, I might try to hide it better than that. Because like hiding it behind your back, anyone with eyes can see you're hiding something. It's not exactly a very effective means of hiding an object, like walking around with it behind your back. But yeah, I walked out of the classroom with this magnifying glass, hiding it behind my back, and I went into the middle toilets and I just chucked it into the toilet. I just threw it into the toilet and then just walked back into the classroom. I don't know why I did it. No idea. Absolutely no idea why I did that. I don't know what I was thinking. I don't know what was going through my head. Anyway, another child, I actually remember who it was. A sort of goody two-shoes, one of the kind of teacher pets. I can remember who it was. She walked out, she went to the toilets, and then she came back in and she said that someone had thrown a magnifying glass into the middle toilet. So the teacher got us all to sit down on a carpet, and she basically asked, she said, who has been into the middle toilet and threw the magnifying glass into the middle toilet? So I must have had enough theory of mind to know that I shouldn't own up to this, because obviously if I didn't have any theory of mind, I would have said, oh, it was me, sort of thing. So I must have had some theory of mind, even at that age, at a very basic level, to know, to have enough knowledge not to own up, sort of thing. So obviously I didn't put my hand up when she said, who has anyone here been into the middle toilet or used the middle toilet? I didn't put my hand up, so she said, oh, it must have been someone in year 3. So again, she went to the teacher in year 3 and I never got found out. So that kind of shows how I obviously had some theory of mind, but obviously it must have been very basic. So I've never been completely without it. I think there is often this myth that autistics are completely without theory of mind. Like I said, in those who are very, very, well, actually I say it's not a complete myth, because those who are like really, really, really profoundly autistic may well completely lack theory of mind, 100%. But obviously autism is a spectrum, and I think that for a lot of autistics, particularly those who are like verbal, the theory of mind deficit is more subtle, so it's not like we're completely without it. We have enough basic theory of mind to be able to do very basic subterfuge, like hiding something will go probably not very well. Like when I was walking out with it behind my back, I wasn't exactly hiding it properly. But we're not very good at it, and like for example, often like my mum, like say if I spilt something on the floor, my mum say, who's spilt, I don't know, milk or whatever it is on the floor, and I'll say no, and she went, Anna, come on out, she said, everyone knows it's you, sort of thing, because I couldn't lie effectively. And and like, so basically, yeah, but that was kind of more like trying to avoid punishment type of concealment, as opposed to like elaborate. I think there's a difference between that and like really elaborate lying, and I also think there's a difference between the way autistics might lie and the way non-autistics lie as well. Like I think non-autistics are more capable of like proper deception, whereas autistics aren't capable of that, and often like even if we try, and that's not to say we might not try sometimes, but I don't think we're very good at it, because of this problem with knowing what the other person knows, we're not very good at it. And also, not just that, it doesn't really occur to us to do it. Like I think we do tend to be more honest as a rule. So I think, so obviously I do think as a rule we tend to be more honest. I just think where the sort of mythical aspect is this whole idea that autistics never lie. There might well be some autistics who never lie, but I think that's kind of a stereotype, and I think that it's not, and I think it's not always the case that like autistics absolutely never lie. It's just that we tend to do it less often, and when we do it, it tends to be more obvious and doesn't involve a great deal of complexity. So therefore we're often regularly found out because we can't lie in an appropriate way, basically. So there is a case that we are less likely to lie, and like as a rule, I'm a very, very honest person and I hate lying. But I learned, obviously, as a kid that if I said no, I didn't do something, I wasn't going to get told off. And obviously I hated being told off. But that might also be because I had learned sort of cause and effect sort of stuff as well. So that's kind of, but that does come under theory of mind, because that's a kind of like cognitive empathy and trying to see things from another perspective. Okay, so moving over to video number 2 now.